Good evening, everybody, and welcome into the fifth episode of the second season of Krunch Time with Kruck. Another full slate coming at you today. Cory's going to come back, talk a little bit more about basketball. Tim Hackett's back talking about NHL. Papa Kruck's back to wrap up the College Softball World Series. And then GUSE, as usual, as we get into the MLB talk. The shirt for today, Let's Go Wild, the 2019 Milwaukee Brewers playoff shirt. Fun fact, I got the shirt after they were knocked out of the playoffs. That's how long shipping and handling took. So, first thing we're going to talk about today, breaking news. All these facts, by the way, are accurate as of Saturday, 10 p.m., June 12th. Le'Veon Bell said he would retire before playing for Andy Reid again in a social media post. Now, several players have said about how much they like playing for Andy Reid and, everything as well. But, like Le'Veon Bell is not really one of those players that I personally think of as, hey, his opinion seems pretty valid because, he was willing to sit out an entire year just because he wouldn't get the money that he thought he earned. I mean, he definitely was worth more money than what the Steelers were paying him, but he sat out an entire year in his prime, so I think that his opinions are a bit skewed for the fact that he thinks a little too highly of himself, but you do have to think highly of yourself in order to be able to play at a high level, such as the NFL. Just looking at it, ESPN says, by season's end, he wasn't much of a factor for the Chiefs. Despite the absence of injured starter Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Ball got the ball just twice in the Chiefs' divisional round win over the Cleveland Browns. And this is an article written by Adam Teacher. He's a ESPN staff writer. And it's true. Obviously, he's on the backside of his career. Running backs don't have that long of a career unless you're really something special. And he was something special, but he sat out, So, he only got the ball twice. Andy Reid, I personally think that, you can't really blame Andy Reid for not giving you the ball. I think when it comes down to it, you want to put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hand. And that game against the Browns, he was hurt, and they brought in Henne, Chad Henne, and Henne was doing really good. And even without Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, they can get open. Sammy Watkins, I think he was on the team at that time too. They can get open. So you just have to have a quarterback to get the ball there, and Henne can do that. The other running backs for the teams, they're pretty good. Looking at it, Bell did sit out the AFC game because he was inactive against the Bills. And then in the Super Bowl, he dressed, but he did not play against the Buccaneers. And there really wasn't much of a run game to be had against the Buccaneers because everybody knows when you get down in football, you have to start throwing the ball in order to get back. You need big chunks at a time in order to get back in the game, especially against a player like Tom Brady, where basically going to the Super Bowl is a once-a-year vacation. So, honestly, I think his career would be a lot different if he wouldn't have sat out with the Steelers and then gone to the Jets. The Jets was a bad move for him, but it's his career, not mine. More on the NFL talk. Russell Wilson says he never requested a trade. He says he wants to stay in Seattle, and he never really... he was never really looking for a trade. People just said he was looking. He said, and I quote, "Obviously, I love Seattle. I love playing here. I've had a great career here so far. I've always wanted to play here my whole career." So, why were there so many big things about him early on in free agency after the season? Before Deshaun Watson had all of these charges come up against him, it was him and Russell Wilson that every single franchise thought they were going to grab. The Bears were like, we can get Russell Wilson, we can get Deshaun Watson. The Buccaneers, They had Tom Brady. The Chiefs had Patrick Mahomes. At the time, the Packers had Aaron Rodgers. Those were about the only 3 locks, really. Every other team was looking for players and looking for a quarterback. I mean, the Bills, Josh Allen, and maybe the Vikings with Kirk Cousins. He could get a better player than Kirk Cousins, but not terrible. But yeah, Russell Wilson said he has no intention of leaving after there was a huge thing about him talking about leaving. So, you tell me what the drill is here, people. And this is going to take we're going to bring in our first person now. Papa Kruck, wrap up the College Softball World Series. Take it away.
Hey, Papa Kruck coming to you here from the back porch again on the nice, beautiful swing that my son just bought for us. Doing a wrap up on the College World Series softball. Fantastic tournament. I hope everyone got to watch it. First time that both teams had to come through the losers bracket. Oklahoma and Florida State both lost their first opening round games. Oklahoma lost to unseeded James Madison, and Florida State lost to UCLA. Both teams fought back and got into the championship series. Championship series best of 3. Oklahoma winning the first one. Florida State coming back winning the second one, and then Oklahoma storming back winning the final game 5-1 behind great pitching by G. Juarez, who was named tournament MVP, tournament most valuable position player. Oklahoma was led by National Player of the Year Allo, just an absolute powerhouse home run hitter. Fantastic. Florida State fought back, battled the best they could. It was just an unbelievable series. Can't wait till next year. Oklahoma is loaded with freshmen and sophomores, the same as Alabama and UCLA. Florida State had quite a few juniors, seniors on a team, but with the COVID rules, they could be back. Who knows? We're in unprecedented times for college athletes right now. Some of them getting 5 years eligibility. They have transfers. Alabama had a transfer in from Florida. I know Oklahoma had a transfer from Auburn. Their shortstop came from Auburn and got to be on a national championship team. And who knows, maybe there's another James Madison lurking in the weeds for next year. Anyway, it was a fantastic tournament, and I'm glad to bring you up to date. And unfortunately, I know my picks were Alabama to win it all, and they fought valiantly and lost to Florida State in the semis. And, of course, my heartthrob James Madison eventually was knocked out by Oklahoma. But, that's why they're the number 1 team in the country, Oklahoma. Congratulations to the Sooners. And we'll be talking to you next week on another new topic. Who knows? Maybe we'll bring back the old golfers again. All right, back to you, Jake.
All right, thank you very much, Papa Kruck. College softball just wrapped up. Congratulations to all the players who are in it, and teams and coaches, and best of luck moving forward next year. Moving forward, we're going to talk about basketball. The Utah Jazz are beating the Clippers 2-1, and I honestly didn't think that the Clippers were going to win a game in this. I thought it was going to be a 4-game sweep. The Jazz with Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, a couple other great players, And the Clippers, playoff Paul is not really a playoff player. If you called him regular season Paul George, yeah, I'd get behind it. He's good. Kawhi Leonard, he cannot carry that team. He's a great player. He's probably top 3 players in the league right now, but he can't carry the team. I'm sorry. The Nuggets are losing 3-0, or they're down 3-0 against the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns could win one more and just sweep the series. I personally see the Phoenix Suns coming out of that side of the bracket. There was a Stephen A. said on Get Up, he said that Donovan Mitchell is the best Jazz player of all time. And that's really something to say, because Karl Malone and John Stockton have both played for them. Karl Malone, the mailman, consistent. Second most points in NBA history. And then you got John Stockton, who has the most assists, the most steals, 2 records that are almost untouchable. And Stephen A. is on Get Up is just going to be like, yeah, that's the move. I personally don't agree with it, but Stephen A. got to where he is for not having normal opinions. On the other side of the bracket, the 76ers are playing the Hawks right now, and the 76ers are leading 2-1 in the series. The Hawks took the first game. 76ers came back 2 games. So, Trae Young, John Collins, gonna need a little bit of help there. Need to keep things moving. The 76ers, got a player hurt. Hopefully he can come back in a little bit. But Joel Embiid, as long as you stay healthy, you guys got a good shot at making it to the finals. But the other matchup is going to be conference finals. But the other matchup is going to be the one that actually makes the finals, in my opinion. The Brooklyn Nets are leading the Bucks 2-1. I'm not going to talk much about it because that's what Cory's here for. So, Cory, take it away. What do you got for us on that matchup?
Hey, Kruck, thanks for having me back on the show. Once again, my name is Cory, and I'm here to talk about the Bucks versus Nets series, so let's get into it. So far, it's been a pretty interesting, pretty exciting series. We had a good game 1. The Nets won 115-107. They won by 8 points. Harden got injured early, so there were no points from him, but Kevin Durant scored 29 points. Kyrie had 25. Joe Harris had 19. Giannis had 34, and Chris Middleton had 13 points. Those were the key players in the series. It was a quiet night from Chris Middleton, but it ended up being a pretty close game. And game 2 was just an absolute domination by the Nets. They won 125-86, so they won by 39 points. Kevin Durant had 32 points, Kyrie with 22, Joe Harris had 13, and it was a slow offensive night for the Bucks. Giannis had 18 points, and Chris Middleton had 17 points. We had Giannis get dunked on by Blake Griffin in the game. It was pretty cool to see prime Blake Griffin show up. We had, in Game 3, a little bit of scuffle between Kevin Durant and PJ Tucker. I think that might have gotten under Kevin Durant's skin a little bit because he missed a game-tying 3. The Bucks were able to hold on to the lead. They had Drew Holiday hit the game-winning layup, and in that game, the Nets had 30 points from Kevin Durant, 22 from Kyrie. Joe Harris had 3 points, and Giannis and Chris had 33 and 35 respectively. That night was pretty big offensive night for Chris Middleton. He was able to get his shot back, get back in the rhythm, get in the flow of things. Chris and Giannis combined for 68 of the 86 points that game. That left 18 points for the rest of the Bucks players to score. Giannis he was off from 3. He went 1 for 8 in that game, and he went 4 for 9 for free throws. I think that could be costly eventually in the series because if it gets close, then the Nets can foul Giannis, and it wouldn't be a good situation. It could be like the downfall when closing out games. We also have Giannis missing quite a bit of threes. He was able to hit a couple in the first game. I think he went 2 for 5, but that might not be good if they have to depend on him to shoot threes. It's been reported that James Harden isn't going to be playing in the Game 4, so I think the Bucks should try to take advantage of that, especially with Chris Middleton finding his shot. They should probably try to take advantage of Harden being out, because if this goes into more games, James Harden might be able to play. For the Nets, I would continue to try and get Joe Harris involved. He didn't score that many points in Game 3. He only had 3 points. But I've noticed that throughout the season, there hasn't been many stats to show, like the big three playing together. They haven't played many games healthy together. But when they do have Joe Harris out in the court, they play better. So the big key I would have for them, as I said in the last podcast, was try to get Joe Harris involved, try to get him on fire shooting threes, and try to get him to score more points. Another thing I do for the Bucks is we had in Game 3 we had Middleton have 15 boards, so I'd continue to have him attack the basket, have him get more rebounds, get second chance points, because they might not come often with the Brooklyn Nets defense. I'd also try to get some of the other Bucks teammates involved. They scored the 68 of 86 points in Game 3, Giannis and Chris Middleton. That left only 18 points for the other players' score, so I definitely try to get the other players involved, get them scoring more points. But overall, I'd also try to keep it a low-scoring game because it worked in their advantage. The reason I say this worked in their advantage is because Brooklyn shoots around 43% from 3, and they usually hit about 14 threes a game. So if they're able to keep it a low-scoring game and keep Brooklyn from hitting as many threes as they usually do, it would be beneficial to them because then Brooklyn might not be able to get going on offense, which is a big part of their game. Defense isn't really Brooklyn's strong suit. They're ranked 22 in the league for defense overall. So if the Bucks are able to get good offensive possessions and keep it a slow game, then they'll be able to win easier. And for the Nets, a big thing for them would just be to try to get going on offense, try to speed the game up and make it a high-scoring game because they benefit from that. But overall, I think this will definitely be a good series. I think the Nets will win by far. Not by far, but I think they'll win the series overall. I also think that this will definitely be entertaining, and it might be more entertaining than the finals, given the amount of stars that are playing this game. So I just hope it's a good series, and I'll send it back to you, Kruck.
Thanks, Cory. As always, basketball is running deep. I'll give my prediction right now. So as of Saturday at 10:30, June 12th at night, I am going to say that the Suns will play the Brooklyn Nets, both 2 seeds, in the finals, and the Brooklyn Nets are going to win it 4-2. So moving forward, we got baseball. Baseball has really been under the microscope as of late. Looking at some things moving forward, there was a clip from tonight's game when the White Sox played. The White Sox were playing the Detroit Tigers, and the Tigers pitcher, Bo Burrows, vomited on the mound, before his first appearance of the season. Nerves get to everybody, but I really did not see this guy, spit in chunks on the mound. That was something really to see. And another thing to see, in case you missed it, watch Garrett Cole's interview when he gets asked, do you use Spider Tack? And I personally have been in a ton of situations where it's very uncomfortable talking to athletes. Me, myself, personally, I am an athlete, but I'm also a journalist. So, at college, at university, I talk to people all the time, and, I try to almost pull teeth when I'm talking to them because they don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to get in trouble. But I'm not asking questions that could get them in trouble, and I'm not publishing it to make them lose their scholarship. I'm publishing it almost as a puff piece to make our athletes look good. People who ask MLB and professional athletes, sometimes they're out to make them look like the bad guy. Garrett Cole is a Yankee, was on the Astros when they cheated. Out of anybody to make him look like a bad guy, he's the guy to look like a bad guy. So his way to kind of answer this question was kind of dodgy, but the way he answered the question, he might as well have just said yes. He answered it, and I'm paraphrasing because I couldn't remember the whole interview, but when he was asked, he said, like, he basically didn't answer the question, tried to answer the question. He tried to work his way around the question, right? So the question's here, and he tried to work his way around the question. The only problem is it took him so long to get around the question that everybody knew the answer. There are artful ways to get around questions. Why weren't you at practice today? Well, I was at the doctor's office. Why were you at the doctor's office? I needed a sports physical. You could tell them I broke my ankle. I twisted an elbow, whatever. You can give them 100 different reasons, or you can give them the real reason. When you ask a star pitcher who is quite possibly going to win the AL Cy Young Award, are you using spider tack to make your pitches easier to hit? And he comes right back at you and can't put two words together? You know the answer. All right, so since we're on MLB, Brock, take it away. Run us through this whole spider tack situation. What is it, and what do we need to know about it?
How's it going, everybody? Back again to talk a little baseball. Kind of be a little continuation on from last week. We talked a little bit foreign substance and how it's how prevalent it is in the game today. I mean, it's always been prevalent, but the last, I would say, 3 to 5 years, and especially the last year, it's become a lot more noticeable to the not just the players in the game, but the fans and people watching on TV. There's a lot of guys who aren't even trying to hide that they're going to their glove to grab some sticky stuff. So that's kind of where the problem stands. And of course, the competitive advantage that certain sticky stuff can give you, really. Like last week we talked about pine tar and rosin, and that's kind of universally accepted as pitchers and hitters, managers. Sunscreen, you can't tell a guy to not put on sunscreen. Rosin is available for everyone on the back of the mound, a little white powdery bag. So, and it's when the two are mixed together where it's real sicky, you see guys like John Lackey who, has a lot of sweating on his arms. You can see him. He's got the big rosin bag and he's throwing it all over. And I remember playoff games when he was with the Cardinals, and even when he pitched for the Cubs, he would wipe his hands all over his body. And I kind of wondered why he would do that. And of course, I knew it was for sweat, but the rosin too. I never really knew rosin and pine tar, or rosin and sunscreen were really sticky. And speaking of pine tar, that's another one that that's the one that isn't as accepted. Maybe a little bit more than some of the other stuff that's being used. But Michael Pineda from the Yankees, he's really famous for having that big pine tar right here. That's when it becomes an issue, is when you can really see it on a guy and it's so obvious, and he's got it, goop on it all over on his hand. So, though that's kind of the two substances that I would say are almost accepted. Hitters would rather you not use it, but they're under the understanding that they will face pitchers that will use that stuff. But the real problem is the stuff that guys have been accused of using lately, and that's stuff like spider tack and stuff like bullfrog, and even substances we might not even know about, because Trevor Bauer was talking on Twitter I talked about this last week too. He was talking on Twitter a few years ago about he noticed that one of his former college teammates, who was kind of one of his rivals, not even kind of, is a big rival today and was in college. They didn't like each other. Garrett Cole, he was for the Pittsburgh Pirates, played for the Pirates, pitched for them. Was kind of expected to take on the ace role. After 3-4 years, he didn't really take that next step. Got traded to the Astros, and all of a sudden, like a lot of Astros pitchers in that time, got a lot of RPMs, revolutions per minute, to their fastballs and their to all their pitches. And Trevor Bauer kind of took notice to that and went off about it on Twitter and was saying, it'd be a shame, if these guys were to be using this, and they obviously will get better numbers and they'll achieve more awards and they'll get more money for those awards. And, it's kind of that big chain process, and that eventually came to be true. Garrett Cole won a World Series, got paid for that, obviously, and then got paid with the Yankees. So, I mean, what he was talking about a few years ago pretty much came to fruition. But, that's what Garrett Cole or Trevor Bauer was kind of trying to get at Twitter, is these guys are changing their careers using this type of stuff like spider tack and bullfrog. And even Trevor Bauer said that on Twitter, that when he was 12 years old, he was taught by the Astros pitching coach, who's not there anymore, but was taught the spider tack, that stuff's real sticky. You throw that stuff on the inside of your glove, on your belt, tip of your cap, really. Even you can throw it real deep in your inside of the glove and no one's really going to see it. So, that's really where the issue stands today. And there's a lot of guys doing it, a lot of top tier pitchers in the game doing it. And there's been some more guys caught. And I think it'd be kind of not fun, but informative to go over some of the more guys who are, sticking up their hand.
All right, all the credit goes to my guy Haycomi for the video on TikTok, but you can see the shine in his glove there. I mean, that looks like it could be pine tar. Maybe it's that spider tech, but I mean, who knows really? But obviously, that's what he's going to. That's his go-to spot to get some grip. He's a bullpen pitcher for the Pirates, but you can kind of see him go to it there. Here you go again. Yep, same spot. You can kind of see him tap, quick taps. And here's another one, the same team, Sam Howard. You can kind of see he even gets, both fingers, it looks like, kind of 1, 2. Yep, you could even see the stick. He not even hiding it. Throwing nasty cutters, sliders, all sorts of stuff. But I mean, he's just oblivious. He might even have stuff on that hat right there. Then right back to the glove. And, right back to the hat. Pitch. Right on the black.
Thank you, GUSE. Great as always. I love having you on the show. A baseball mind, talking about baseball. It's a beautiful thing. I could never do it because I wasn't a big baseball player. I'm a baseball guy, but I'm not a big baseball player. So I love having the player point of view in the show. I was reading the Rockford Register-Star earlier today. The sports section was talking about players suspected of using the spider tack, what their four-seam fastball, or just their fastball, and then their curveball spin rates, and then showing their ERAs comparative to last year and this year. And, looking at the newspaper right now, the Brewers pitcher, Brandon Woodruff, earned run average has dropped from 3.05 last season to 1.42 this season. Less than half of his ERA last season, and that's incredible. Looking at the top two players with spin rate on their four-seam fastball, Trevor Bauer is number one. He's 100th percentile. And, his spin rates from 2018 to 2021, his spin rate in 2018 was 2,322. His spin rate in 2021 is 2,822. So he jumped 500 spins from his hand to the plate. I don't know if you can really say that training has really bounced that much. Yu Darvish is 99th percentile on the four-seam spin rate, and his has jumped approximately 30. So, yeah, he's always had a fast spin because he's spinning the ball at 2,500, 2,561. It's still a lot less than Trevor Bauer. And Trevor Bauer is just a freak with the fastball. But, I mean, that's a lot. Jacob deGrom come back from injury, and they're suspecting him of using the spider tack as well. There's a lot of players on here. I'm just going to list their names. Not going to go through all of them. Kevin Gausman, Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom, Brandon Woodruff, Trevor Bauer, Lance Lynn with the White Sox, Freddie Peralta also with the Brewers, Garrett Cole, Yu Darvish, and Corbin Burns. So 3 Brewers pitchers have all been accused of it. Being a Brewer fan, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I mean, the Astros stole signs. They won a World Series. Did the World Series get taken away from them? No. As long as we get caught after we get the trophy, that's all I care about. That is very unsportsmanlike of me, but winning is winning. At the end of the day, if you can win, you can win. That's how it is. Moving forward, we've got Hockey Talk with Tim Hackett. Tim, take it away. What do you got for us this week?
And then there were 4. Hey, Kruck, it's Tim Hackett in Kansas City. Thanks so much for having me on. We have finally reached the Final 4 of the Stanley Cup playoffs here in 2021, and I think the only thing that you can predict in the NHL postseason is that it's going to be unpredictable. How about this? the final 4 teams left standing, no number 1 seeds, no team that finished first in its division in the regular season, which in and of itself is an unprecedented thing this year, right? But no team that finished first in its division is still alive as we hit the final 4. We've got a number 2 seed, a number 3 seed, and 2 number 4 seeds still left standing. And I think that's where you got to start with one of those number 4 seeds. The Montreal Canadiens continue to be the story of the postseason, at least for me. They have now won 7 games in a row after they beat the Winnipeg Jets in 4, a sweep of Winnipeg after the Jets swept the Oilers in the first round. And going a step further, Montreal never trailed in their series against Winnipeg. They were ahead or tied the whole way. Winnipeg just seemed to step behind, and Montreal is on another level right now. Carey Price has turned back the clock, as it were. He's playing like he did like 10 years ago or whatever. He's been fantastic. The defense in front of him has been good, even though they really are only running 4 defensemen, and one of those 4 defensemen right now, Jeff Petrie, is hurt. He'll be available at some point in this next series, you would think, but that's crazy that they're really only running 4 guys, but they are running all 4 lines, and all 4 lines have contributed. That helped Montreal get through Winnipeg in 4 games, but I think everybody knew that whoever would get out of that Canadian division, I don't think anybody expected Montreal would be the team to get out of that division, but whoever did get out of that division was going to face a much tougher task in the third round, and Montreal certainly has a tougher task ahead of them here in the third round. They will play the Vegas Golden Knights after they beat the Colorado Avalanche in the second round in 6 games. The Avalanche won the President's Trophy in the regular season. That goes to the team with the most points, the best record. So the so-called curse of the President's Trophy is alive and well. No team that has won the President's Trophy in the regular season has even gotten out of the second round in the last half dozen years, and you got to go back a long time, a lot further than that, to find even the last President's Trophy winning team that was in the Stanley Cup Finals. So Colorado was done after the second round. After they dominated Vegas in Game 1, 7-1, Vegas goes back to Marc-Andre Fleury in goal for Game 2 after they gave him a rest in Game 1 because he played the whole way in the 7-game series against Minnesota in the first round. So they put Robin Lehner, who was excellent in the regular season, and Lehner and the defense give up 7 goals to a hot offense in Colorado. Fleury gets back behind in the crease for Game 2, and the defense in front of him plays extremely well the rest of the way. Vegas was the better team the final 5 games of that series, and they win it in 6. The defense for Vegas has just been excellent, and what's not baffling but just so impressive to me is how reliant Vegas is on its defense in all facets of the game, especially for offense. There was a time in Game 6 where they barely had any shots on goal from their forwards. Almost all of their shots on goal came from defensemen. That is very unusual. Alex Pietrangelo has been excellent. Off-season pickup from St. Louis. He's been great. Getting Brady McNabb back in the lineup ahead of Nick Hague has been a big bolster for Peter DeBoer and company. And, of course, Marc-Andre Fleury is playing as well as he ever has. So Fleury against Carey Price, an old Eastern Conference showdown here in the third round for Vegas against Montreal. The first time, obviously, that those two teams will play in the playoffs. Vegas joined the league in 2018. That series kicks off on Monday. The other number 4 team that's still left standing here in the Final Four, the New York Islanders. They beat the 3-seed Boston Bruins in 6 games. You know I had to talk about this series, right? Because the first 4 games of this series was super competitive. Ilya Sorokin started Game 1 for the Islanders. They go to Semyon Varlamov in Game 2 after he didn't really play all that well against Pittsburgh. And they win 4 out of the 5 games in which Varlamov starts, primarily because the Islanders were just so much better than the Bruins in the final 2 games of that series. As a fan, you want your team to play well. Even if they're going to lose the game, you want them to play well, and frankly, that is not what the Bruins did, especially in Game 6. Their effort was severely lacking in a lot of ways. The Islanders' depth, their 4-line play has been excellent. Their defense was so much better than Boston's was, and their goaltending in the final 2 games was loads better, and that's why the Islanders won the series. I thought Boston was excellent, so good, about the best I've seen them this year. In the first 10 minutes of Game 5, they still lose that game, and then they come out in Game 6, and the Islanders are by far the better team. They send the Bruins home. The Islanders will face the Tampa Bay Lightning in the third round for the 2nd straight season. Tampa Bay beat them in 6 last year en route to winning the Stanley Cup, and the Lightning are back after they beat the number 1 seed Carolina Hurricanes in 5 games in the second round this year, but frankly, I think that's a little bit misleading. All 5 of those games really were close, and Carolina deserved to win at least one more. So you look at it, you see a 4-1 scoreline, you think that's the size of, or a significant win for Tampa Bay, but frankly, Carolina deserved a little bit more than that. But what is so good about Tampa Bay? I mean, what's not good about them right now? Their offense is lethal. Their power play is fantastic with Nikita Kucherov and company. Andrei Vasilevsky is playing extremely well. He's now picked up a shutout in a series-clinching game, 3 straight series. Doesn't have any playoff shutouts other than that, except for series-clinching games in his last 3 series-clinching games, which is crazy. And the defense around Vasilevsky has been great, anchored by Norris Trophy finalist Victor Hedman. So the betting lines are going to favor Vegas against Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup Finals this year. Tampa Bay against New York kicks off on Sunday afternoon, but I think if we've come to learn anything in this postseason this year, you have to expect the unexpected.
Thanks, Tim. Speaking of NHL, I'm going to take a shot on this guy's last name. So, the Hurricanes goalie, Vasilevsky, I'm going to take a shot on it. There was a sign one of the fans was holding up at the game, and it says, Vasilevsky, I've seen coupons that save more than you do. Apparently, they are not happy with his goalkeeping so far in this series. But, Tim, thank you very much for being on the show. Love having you. Love having you on. Hopefully you'll keep returning as long as the playoffs are going and make things really interesting. So, we're going to wrap it up with a little bit of Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady talk. So, Aaron Rodgers still hasn't found a home yet. He hasn't showed up to the mandatory Packers training camp. And Jordan Love's been getting a lot of look and a lot of love by the Packers front office. Is he going to come back to the Packers? At this point, if you're a Packers fan, you want him to come back because you know he's an MVP quarterback. The only way that he'll be successful if they come back is if they go 21-0 and don't lose a game. The moment they lose their first game, he is a locker room cancer. He already is one. But as long as tensions aren't huge, he's riding high, he's having fun, all that, you're good. The moment you lose the first game, he's pointing fingers. Hey, coach's fault, LaFleur, too young, unskilled, whatever. Front office's fault, they didn't give me enough money, I can't be out there, I can't get the proper recovery, whatever. My O-line's trash. Why do we spend so much time drafting them and not my wide receivers? Oh, yeah, I have no wide receivers, Excuses coming out of him like volcano, like lava in a volcano. Going everywhere. You can't stop it. Tom Brady. Bruce Arians has been talking, and he's like, we're not going to have Brady really take snaps and get in the way of defensive linemen until we get closer to season, because he's played enough seasons. He knows how to get ready. He knows what his body needs. We're not going to force him to do anything he doesn't want to do. So we're going to have him more of a coaching role. We're still going to have him do practice, one-on-ones, get the wide receiver down, be able to pick up routes, help wide receivers think how you think. But when it comes to game time, we're not going to have you, or scrimmage time, we're not going to have you in the scrimmage because we don't want you to have the chance to get hurt, coming off of a leg injury or surgery. I think he had the surgery, or him or another quarterback. But it's really up in the air, kind of. Two great quarterbacks, both taking time off. You'd love to see it. Another quarterback who is finally on a little vacation, a honeymoon. I follow Patrick Mahomes on Instagram, and it seems like he's somewhere vacationing. Hopefully he's having fun. I know he did. I think he had his turf toe surgery worked on, something. I know turf toe hurts. I've definitely been there. It hurts. But you got to roll with it. I think that the Super Bowl loss for Patrick Mahomes is going to fuel him very much moving forward. And that I don't know if it's ready to be called a revenge tour yet, but that's definitely going to be a rocket sled on wheels right there. So this has been Krunch Time with Kruck. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching or if you're listening on podcasts, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., whatever you're listening on, feel free to leave a rating. Leave a little comment. Subscribe to it, most definitely, because who doesn't love listening to me talk about sports? And we have no commercials. That's another positive, too. So, until next time, Jacob Krukenberg. I hope you all have a great day.